Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy, nor game design, nor golf. I'm Ben Slinger, and with me, as always, is Trevor Scott.
Golf.
Trevor knows about golf. You used to play a lot of golf.
Yeah, I haven't played in a while. I want to go play some more golf.
Well,
golf is on my brain.
Golf is on your brain, which is...
Yes.
I do bring this up for a reason, because we kind of had an idea for a bit of a theme.
Yes.
And that theme...
Can you guess what it is?
Volleyball. No,
yes.
Golf.
Yes. So I've been playing a little bit of golf on different games. One such game was What the Golf, because that is a good fun game.
That's a fun romp.
And then I got a little game called A Little Golf Journey. And then I came up with an idea of, what if, you could play golf and, maybe have some sort of things coming and attacking you. And then I found out about a game called Golf versus Zombies. So some of the ideas are already there, but that doesn't stop us from talking about golf and
I think golf has some interesting mechanics that can be applied to games in different ways. Whether you go full on golf themed, or just sort of take some of the ideas, some of the mechanics of, getting somewhere in the lowest number of strokes or hits, having to do sort of precision shots onto a green or onto an area or onto a roof or onto a whatever, or into a zombie's head, for a headshot. And also just the idea of kind of the way that you travel across, it's like, okay, go to a place, take a shot. All right, where that ends up, that's where you're starting from next time. And maybe, anyway, we'll talk about it a bit as we go into some of the ideas, but there's a lot you can do with that. I
mean, here's the thing. All the golf games out there, they either go heavy into, arcade territory, a la your PGA Tour or all these sort of things, which are very arcadey versions of golf, which have a little bit of the, this person has this sort of power level and that sort of stuff. And then you've got like those, hardcore simulators that they've come up with. And then there's the in-between of...
the wacky stuff.
The wacky Wii Sports Golf, which...
Outlaw Golf on the original Xbox.
Fuck, the Outlaw series was so good.
Well, and they had the right idea, right? Like, take a sport or an activity that everybody knows and just, like, make it a bit interesting, make it a bit funny, put some cool characters.
Outdoor
right, yeah, they had a volleyball one. Yeah,
and they had a tennis one as well. Like, they had two golf ones because they realized the golf was... That's the main
It's
thing.
just the superior sport, What other sport can you have a nice walk through a field while doing it?
But so I'll give you my little run through. I think this was Tuesday. I wasn't very well. I was actually, had a really, really bad headache and didn't feel great at all. But anyway, I'm at home and I'm thinking, a golf game. What happens in between? Because usually in a golf game, you hit your shot and then all of a sudden your person appears at the ball, ready to do the next one. Yeah. What if in between there they got attacked, a la Vampire Survivors, and they had basically waves upon waves of enemies attacking them, and then all of a sudden when they cleared out the enemy, then they could go take their next shot.
Yeah.
And you didn't see all that because they cut all that part out. And then that got me thinking, okay, so golfing at night, sort of having these sort of blue star, that blue wash that you sort of get in darkness in games. Then you can have some lights. Then you can, what if you had, a damage system on your clubs? So as you're bashing away and trying to defend yourself, like, you're actually damaging your clubs, and therefore you can't finish your full round. You've got limited,
Yeah, well, what I liked about that idea was that interplay between the two modes, essentially. That, okay, you're fighting your way to your next hole, great. We sort of know how that can go. But yes, the fact that the different moves that you've got or the different weapons that you might have affect how well you're going to actually be able to play this golf course. It's like, oh, well, I never use the 7 wood or whatever, and so I'm gonna. Is that a real one? I don't know. So I'm gonna use that first, even though it's maybe not as powerful or something against zombie heads.
So for all you golf heads out there who are just waiting for me to say something, no, a 7 wood is not a typical club.
I don't know. I know there's numbers and there's woods and irons and a few other little. Like,
in my golf bag, I've got a driver, a 3 wood, and a 5 wood, and then I've got irons.
Close.
Irons like 3 through 9, then a pitching wedge and a sand wedge, and
so what? Okay, tell me then. What do the numbers designate generally? Is it the size of the head?
So the numbers for your woods, like your 1 is your biggest head, and then 3 is slightly smaller, and 5 is the smallest.
Does golf just do everything backwards? It's like, you got to get the smallest, the lowest score. When we make the numbers go up, it means the head is smaller. So a 7 would just be like a fucking toothpick on the end of the thing. Is that?
It could be. But then for your irons, it's like the numbers just determine how much angle. Well, not how much angle.
Oh, okay.
But like
it's like the
9 isn't going to travel as far as an 8 iron, and then the 7 iron is going to travel further than the 8.
Is it the arc that ends up that basically
because it goes higher?
Ends up shoot. Yeah. Okay, I gotcha.
And then your pitching wedge and your sand wedge are like, your sand wedge is like your
so when you pull out your 15 iron and hit it, it goes vertically up
and it goes backwards.
Hits you in the head.
It just goes backwards.
It's you hit it, it's got a little scoop that flies behind you. See, this is the sorts of things you can put in your game, right? No, okay. I like that. Having to travel. Now, are you thinking... Because if you're fighting off swarms, is it still all melee? Or are you, like, hitting balls at them as well? Do you have, like, just golf-related...
I mean, one of the
swing
things
your golf bag around?
So, I did have a look at Golf vs. Zombies, right? And they include the attacking of the zombies in your stroke count.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. Like, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of you're someone who's you're in the apocalypse or whatever, and you're just trying to get around to golfing.
Yeah.
Everything that happens in between, like you getting from your last stroke to your next stroke, that's not included. That's just part of the journey. Now, if that journey happens to be a lot of, killing people with chainsaws, I don't care. It's not part of the golf game. The golf game and the combat are separate for this idea, at least.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. Like Golf vs. Zombies was clearly much more about the precision hits.
Yeah,
because I think with that you get a stroke taken off if you get a headshot and that sort of thing. Like, and so I thought the balance there was interesting. That overall you get scored on how well you play your golf game, but also how well you kill the zombies, precision wise. But yeah, I like this as it's a bit more of a sort of an adventure-ish sort of thing then, where it's two sides of the same game and they have some effect between each other, but they're not directly like affecting your golf game, your score.
But I kind of like the idea of you've hit the golf ball, you've fought off everyone. Mm-hmm. Now you got to remember, where did your golf ball actually land?
Well, that's it. So yeah, one of the things when you suggested this that I found interesting was in Vampire Survivors, while, obviously in some levels you have some objectives that you can get to like unlock stuff and whatever. Yeah. In general, it's just move around the world in a way that you're not getting hit and that your weapons are hitting, killing as many things as possible. And you don't really worry about your sort of positioning within the world too much.
Yeah,
whereas,
but in this case,
within this, it's like, you have a destination. You don't necessarily want to go straight there. And in fact, the terrain or whatever may make it that's, a suicide.
You may be going through a minefield. You don't want to go through that minefield, so you got to go around it.
Yeah, you want to go around it and lead all the enemies through the minefield so they get blown up. So yeah, that was interesting that you have to really work with the terrain a bit more.
I've been sort of thinking about this in multiple different ways, and this is the good thing about, like, because I've actually started developing something, like I've started playing around with some golf mechanics and that sort of stuff. All I've got at the moment is a ball flying off in a direction that matches the direction of the camera. Mm-hmm. It's behind the golf ball sort of view, and then I get a little bit of ball travel.
Yeah.
Which took longer than what I thought. And then I started thinking about,
always does.
Oh God, how do I actually map, on a green where where the putting surface is going to go? And God, that's just hurting my head. I'm not going to think about that yet.
There's a lot there for sure. But ambitious.
I started thinking, okay, Vampire Survivors, but in like a 3D, third person melee sort of thing of.
It's almost a bit of like Dead Rising then, or like just something where there's tons of enemies, or like what was that series that did that? It was the Japanese series, something Warriors maybe, or where you were like there was more third person fighting, but it was massive. It was armies that you were fighting against and killing. Dynasty Warriors, yeah. And you were like killing huge swaths in one row, like that sort of thing could definitely work with the more Vampire Survivors-esque elements.
And then, having to sort of, go for a big journey, get these things drawn away so you can quickly run, take your next shot.
Take your shot as they're, Yeah, I like the idea of you either have to clear out enough of the area that before they get to you again, you can take your shot, or lead them away, or just kill them all. But like, however the wave system works, or different things that you end up doing there, that you got some strategy around just getting that next shot in. And look, that puts some time pressure on it. You can't line up that shot for 5 minutes while you get the perfect, slice on it or whatever.
Well, I started thinking, how much do we need to focus on the golf, or do we need to focus on the melee? And it's like, one's got to give. And I'm like, you know what? Getting the golf in is a lot of it. Mm-hmm. But I think that is just, it's just got to be arcadey enough just to have enough fun to get the ball in the hole.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. It needs
don't
to be
focus
serviceable.
so much on how much slice and all this sort of stuff. No. Like how much power. You can just go with the standard old Microsoft Golf.
Somewhat similar to Golf versus Zombies in that, where it was very much like it was arcade. You hold down the button. In that one, it literally shows you basically where it's going to land. You don't necessarily have to do that. But it's just like let go
I'm thinking of going with the old, 3-click method.
3-click, yeah. Click to start, click at the peak.
If you've got people bearing down on you and you're going click, click, it's like all of a sudden you slice the fuck out of it as you're waiting for the zombies to come in and take you out, and you hear the sound of them coming, and it's like, because I want that panic, of you trying to do it quicker, and it slices the fuck out of it. It's now
4, 5.
What was
Play through.
So I was almost thinking that, at the end of each hole, you'd come across someone who had like a cart with weapons or something like that, and they were like, anything off the trolley.
The pro shop trolley.
It is literally just the lady from
the
Harry
Hogwarts
Potter
Express.
The Hogwarts Express. Anything from the trolley, dears.
Yeah, that's cool.
I know. I just thought that's kind of fun. It's a kind of fun game. I want to see where that goes, and I'm gonna make some choices. Whether it's going to be top down, whether it's going to be
play around with it. Get some. You probably want to get the basic gameplay loop in there, get some golf in there, get some melee in there, and then iterate.
Yeah,
for sure.
But that's not what the majority of this episode, even though we've just gone through.
Well, I think it is actually, but it's not the full episode.
So what we thought that we do for the other parts is sort of take the idea of a genre and see how you could put golf into that. Yeah. So, I suppose you can put out a genre first.
Put out a genre first. So I don't know if this is actually good, but it's where my mind went. So, how can you put golf into a match 3, Trevor?
Ooh, okay, I like.
It could be interesting. It could be interesting.
This I can imagine there being a little bit more story sort of happening around the background, but as you're playing, you're having to sort of maybe you're playing in a competition against someone else, and it's kind of like one of those battling match threes.
Like the battling match threes, yeah.
Yeah.
That could be
you're looking for certain
interesting.
color combinations at certain times to sort of, you want to slice here. So, okay, I'm looking for purple. And,
right,
you're really wanting that power shot. But when you're putting, you're not looking for that power shot. So you don't want the reds now. Or you want to like, you're trying to get a 5 match, to get the extended power shot kind of thing or something wrong. Yeah, well, because I was kind of picturing it as almost you've got sort of the 3D golf game going up above, and I'm picturing mobile because just most matches are mobile. Mm-hmm. But that you're essentially controlling it, like you're making those choices based on, match these 4 by moving, move these, match 4 yellows, and I know that's going to give me a sand wedge or whatever because I'm in a bunker. Yeah. And this time, I'm looking for my ball. If I can, get that, 5 in a row of green, then I know that I can part the grass and
sandpaper dirty. Yeah, for sure. Well, because you could have little things like that as well. Like, you can't find your ball. And so it's actually, you'd make as many matches in as short a time as possible because it's hiding behind one of the squares, and then you find it and it comes back. Look, there's some interesting stuff you can do there. I don't think it's I think it could make a good mobile game where, particularly if you put some of those story elements in it. I feel like people like golf stories. I mean, there's literally a game called Golf Story.
And that was another one that I was sort of thinking about, because golf and RPG, that's where that sort of...
Right, yes. I didn't play a ton of that, but I played a bit of it.
I played through a good 3 courses, so we got a fair way into the game. It was good fun.
All right, well, let's go down that track a bit more. How could you do golf but in, like, a more traditional, hardcore, like, full 3D action adventure RPG?
Yeah, okay. So I'm sort of... anytime that we think action RPG, I think either Fallout or Skyrim, because Bethesda just got it there. And I started thinking, you know what, this is actually kind of cool with the, your clubs that you've got have got different stats.
Yeah.
And, the type of glove that you're wearing,
adds a +2 to precision or something, yeah.
Yeah. And just...
I do like the idea of... are you thinking contemporary, though? Because I kind of like the idea of, like, a high fantasy golf game.
I mean, both work.
Particularly if it takes itself seriously in-game, that it's just, like, golf clubs are the weapon of, the elite.
Well, I think, in high society or in, nightly pursuits, I'm thinking the knights use, they do all their battles on the golf, on the golf course. And it's sort of like, as they're going about doing their stuff, it's like, okay, so someone's coming up and they can use their swords to defend, against the normal monsters, but they come across another knight. They go to the nearest golf course and
and it's just about playing around the golf. Yeah, I wasn't sure where to go with that. Do you just theme it golf-wise and you're just smacking things with golf clubs and firing golf balls, or are you bringing more of those mechanics in, or do you do a mixture of both? That like a golf, like a game that you play, that's like a joust or a duel, right? Like that's the formal... This is what's recognized in like you said, in knightly society as how you best someone. But the rough and tumble on the streets, you're still using your clubs. You might not take your best ones out. But
I mean, there is, I'm thinking kind of like The Witness, where you can pull your golf club out anytime that you want and lay down a ball and, hit for that hole. There's a hole in the tree. You can sort of...
I do love the idea of just holes hidden all over this world.
Yeah.
And, like, that's almost your little challenges and side quests and secrets and stuff but you have to do it from the right tee. You have to find the tee that like is associated with that hole, and then you've got a stroke limit to get it in.
It's one in. Like, you got a hole in one.
Or it's
like,
just you got a hole in one. Yeah.
Yeah. Unlimited balls. You just got a hole in one. Yeah.
Well, there's going to be some sort of magical device that just like forms balls out of the ether. In this high fantasy golf world.
Yeah. But I know, I'm just picturing like this sprawling epic where all of a sudden it's like, oh, I see off in the distance, like there's the, blue plastic things right next to us. Like, that's a tee.
The tee.
It's like, okay, I see the tee. Where's the hole? And it's like, oh my God, all the way down there.
There's a flag down there.
All the way down there, there's
like a banner, and it's like the nightly banner.
Nightly banner just
is in the hole.
It's down, not out to the side, like a standard hole.
Just got the guy in the tavern like sharpening up his 9-iron.
But I'm just imagining something like in The Witness when you realise that, oh my God, these puzzles that we've been doing the whole time, they also exist in the real world. Oh my God, these holes that, this knot in a tree. Like, if I look over here, it's like, oh, this is, like a nature looking
course or like,
tea.
Oh, tea, yeah.
A tea box that looks like it's just been put there by nature. And it's like, yep, this is...
that's cool. I do like that.
It's a clearing, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, I need to ricochet off this tree, and then into the hole. And it's like, yes,
that's the only way in. Yeah, that's cool. You got bystanders just cheering you on.
There's something about like, unlike Skyrim, where you're going off against normal, monster enemies and that sort of stuff. I think, I think maybe just even exploring and going into a a bandit's camp and all that sort of stuff, and you see, some of the horrors that that these bandits are putting
got sharpened clubs,
exactly,
like balls with spikes coming out of them. Yep. Like, they don't go far, but if they hit you, they'll do damage.
Yeah.
Well, and I just pictured two armies facing off across a field. And either side, they just drop their balls in front of them, and just like a field of arrows coming out, just a field of balls. You just hear all the sounds of those balls being hit. Just this field of balls,
and then you hear this high pitched sound as like this metal. Because I think the majority of the commoners use wooden sort of clubs,
right? Yeah,
but titanium club.
Oh yeah,
and you hear that ping, and it's like, oh my God! It's like it's like the horn of war sort of thing. It's like,
and then when you hit someone in the head, you get like a Mortal Kombat-esque or like Burnout Revenge style takedown camera of the ball. You know how when those golf balls like compress, you see it from the shot. The club hitting it compressing, bouncing off, and then doing the same thing in reverse when it hits someone in the skull.
So when I was younger, there was a DOS game called Fuzzy's Space Miniature Golf. Okay.
I vaguely... was Fuzzy's... Did they have
golf.
Was that a series? Did Fuzzy have a lot of different games?
It was just one game, and you needed to progress to the next part of the course, you had to get below par. And if you didn't, then it was fully locked.
Yeah.
But that got me thinking, because I've been thinking a lot about golf. What would a sci-fi golf journey sort of look like? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily an RPG, but just, a space romp, this arcadey golf in worlds unknown, how that could actually feel. Effectively you and your buddies going on just a massive golf tour across the universe.
Right, like a multiplayer thing?
I'm thinking
like
almost like a No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
No Man's Golf.
I went to No Man's Sky as well. No Man's Golf, yeah. I went to that as well because I was picturing coming through the atmosphere in your ship, coming down... this vista lays ahead of you, and then you come over the hill and there's a golf course.
Yeah.
With all the alien planets and creatures.
But I'm just imagining, No Man's Sky, but golf. You fly down onto the planet and you find the golf course, and you get out VR style, and then you hit a round of golf, and then you get back in, you fly back off and go into light speed, and you go off to the next planet.
Off to the next planet. Yeah.
I know there's something about that. And I mean, we were joking the other day about all the different, like, just take a game and put golf in the title. So some of the ones that I've got here, let me just get my phone. I'm pretty sure it was Golfenstein.
Yeah.
What else did I say?
You had golf in all caps, and that was
yes,
Doom.
and that was Doom. Yep. Which was damn funny. That was Binding of Golf Sack. Binding of Isaac.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go on that one a bit, actually, because I feel like, I mean, Vampire Survivors itself is roguelike-ish, but more of the traditional roguelike sort of thing could be interesting with golf, where essentially every round of golf, or every round is, a run, and you're unlocking a lot of different things.
Well, what I'm thinking is, like, each course is effectively like a puzzle, a maze of rooms. Like, there's always going to be 18 rooms. And you start off and you can only unlock it when you get the ball in the hole. And I don't know whether you need, like, the fighting and that sort of stuff. I think it could work well as a puzzle game.
No, it doesn't necessarily have to be fighting, but I think it needs to be a puzzle game where there's a lot of creativity you can use to solve it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're going, like, sort of traditional roguelike in that sense, in the Binding of Isaac way or the Spelunky-esque way or whatever, you want a bit of procedural generation in there, and you want it to be about the synergy between different pickups and
different
power-ups
items,
and items. So, yeah, but I'm picturing things like, you get, the laser shot, which means essentially the ball just keeps going in a straight line and bounces perfectly,
every single time.
Every single time.
It perfect
you don't have to
bounces.
worry about power or whatever.
There's no gravity when you've got the tractor beam. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Or, like different power-ups there for, magnet holes and...
yeah.
Different black hole.
Different balls.
Should be a black hole.
Like, maybe the balls are the things that are different as well. Like, you've got this one ball that every time that you hit it, it breaks apart and creates lots of little balls. But if one of them gets in the hole, then it's fine.
Then it's a win.
Then you hit a button and it all goes back together. Like,
yeah.
I know. I was having fun with just the different names of games that you can just sort of throw golf into.
What about Rocket Golf? Like Rocket League? Can you do a racing/golf game?
Oh, I like that. I mean...
But instead of, like... Because in Rocket League, you can kind of dribble the ball, like, move it across the course. But in this, it's about lining up your car.
Lining up your next shot.
You're doing a single hit, and that's the hit.
Yeah.
But you may be competing against people or whoever hits it first.
Maybe it's all about speed. Maybe it's all about, you want to get that ball into the hole as quickly as possible. I mean, I own golf with friends. And I love the idea of, rocket golf with friends, just all playing at the same time, all going to try and get the ball into the hole at the same time. You can fuck up other people's shots by,
knocking them off course or
blocking it, like jumping up and, blocking it and knocking it off into weird places.
Yeah, for sure.
But you can't hit their ball on the ground to knock it around. You have to, you can only fuck around with it once it's in the air.
Yeah.
Or like if you happen to be at the hole, you can, be on the ground and it can hit you and bounce off. But once it stays still on the ground and they're ready to line up for the next shot, you can't do shit to it.
Yeah. So one thing we haven't spoken much about when it comes to golf mechanics is caddies. Someone helping you carry your golf clubs around and potentially giving you some advice on what to pick.
You did say to me the other day with the Vampire Survivors one that instead of you being the person fighting, you can actually hire more caddies.
Yeah. That one I definitely had it in line with how in Vampire Survivors, like you start with one weapon and they've got a particular mode of attack. And you can either kind of upgrade them or get additional weapons. And yes, in this case, there would be caddies, each with their own personalities and attacks that you can upgrade in various ways. But something that I was just thinking of that's a bit more true to the idea of a caddy is a game where you control, you don't actually play the golf yourself. You are the caddy, and it's all about your selections
for that player.
What club that you hand to your player. And then again, you can have, I almost thought of it as, there was a game recently that I play, I think it's Backpack Hero, maybe?
Yep.
Where essentially it's all about arranging your backpack.
Mm.
That does, you do actually play it out, actually, now that I recall. You play it out, but the weapons that you have available to you are what you can fit in your backpack, essentially. And then you get bonuses for like placing them next to each other and that sort of thing. But I thought having that sort of level of inventory management kind of plays into being a caddy. It's like you can only fit a certain amount of clubs in your golf bag, and different balls and different things. And then, it comes to the stroke. It's like, okay, use this club, this ball, and then based on their stats that have grown as you've played, it will play out essentially. So I thought that could be interesting.
So I can see that working in VR, but the main thing that you're doing when you get the club back is, you're cleaning it off. You're you're putting it back in and making sure it's in order in the bag, and then you get to push the bag along and all this sort of stuff. Like, because again, anything can be fun in VR.
I love the idea. I love the idea of a golf game in VR where you don't actually get to swing in the ball. You can still swing them around if you want, but that might get them dirty and you might hit your player and they're not going to like that.
You may bend the shaft.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get fired.
It's not that sort of VR game, so...
No. In fact, I think if you... First time you swing, he goes, that's your first warning. And the second time you swing,
totally
you're fired.
Strict. You're fired. Game over.
And then it uninstalls.
Uninstalls and your VR headset self-destructs.
No, you can reinstall
No golf for you.
But it's 30 gig. So did you really want to do it again?
It's 300 gig.
It's really only 300 meg,
SD card
but it's just got a lot of filler.
It just spends 3 hours generating a 300 gig file from just uncompressed random data.
So that it can't be compressed. Mm-hmm. It's completely,
But it checks the checksum of that file existing before, so you can't just delete it.
It checksums and makes sure that you still got the checksum every single time.
Yeah.
Oh god, that was fun. That was kind of crazy. So you can sort of see where our head is at. Golf is good. I'm really missing playing golf right now, and I want to go play some more.
So you'll just have to make do on your Steam Deck instead of your golf deck. Because that's what the bag's called, right? A golf deck?
Something like that, yeah.
All right, well, we're going to end it there. So thank you for joining us this week on Golf Storm. If you'd like to see our previous episodes that aren't about golf, you can go to podchaser.com/bitstorm. You can listen to them all there. Leave us a review. Tell us if more of them should be about golf. Maybe they should. Maybe this is the new direction of this podcast.
I mean, we have done a few other golf games in the past.
It's true.
One such game was, delivering mail with golf.
We had one recently where you had to use explosives, I think. You were tiny and you were using explosives on a mini golf course to move the balls. Yeah.
Yep. Then there was one where you were an assassin and you were going through... like lining up each of your shots.
Like Hitman-esque, yeah.
Hitman-esque, yep, that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But if you like the song that we play at the start and end of each episode, that song is called Mount Defiance, off of the album Containment Failure by the band Kuradust. There's no golf songs in there, in that whole album, but...
Actually, I didn't tell you one of the verses in predictive text.
Was all about this
golf.
moment.
Yeah, I predicted this episode.
Guess which one? Like,
yeah, go and listen and guess which verse.
So anyway, you can find that at kuradust.bandcamp.com.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And this was A Hole in One.